Joseph. I am really excited and grateful to ask you some questions.
I closed my eyes, drew back the curtain to see for certain what I thought I knew. Hey Lily, I thought I'd give you a little bit of Any Dream Will Do to start this video. You know what, Lily, your video was one of the most beautiful videos I've ever been seen. Thank you so much. And I've got a couple of things to show you just before I answer your questions. Hold on. So this picture here was the first ever picture taken of me at the London Palladium, where I started my career in Joseph, and I was 24 years old, which is a long time ago. That was the first picture ever taken. And then something else to show you. So this was the poster, and I'm sure you probably know that a very well-known composer and musical writer, Andrew LLoyd Webber, wrote the musical. And I don't know if you can see, but that's me and Andrew LLoyd Webber sitting on the steps of the London Palladium just before I opened in the show in 1993. And then one more thing to show you. So then just after that, I sang Any Dream Will Do for the Queen, and this is me meeting the Queen after I'd sung Any Dream Will Do on a show called The Royal Variety Show. So that was just after I'd played Joseph at the Palladium, and she was very lovely.
My question 1 is, how did it feel wearing the coat for the first time? And question 2, was the coat hot or cold to wear?
Oh, to answer your questions, Lily. So the first question was, how did it feel wearing the coat for the very first time? Well, I can tell you, Lily, that I was so excited because in 1991, a million years before you were born, I went to the London Palladium to see the opening night of Joseph with a friend of mine called Jason Donovan. And I remember sitting in the audience watching this show with my friend Jason in it, thinking, oh, I would love one day to be in this show, because when I was about 11, I played Joseph in a school concert, and I used to sing Any Dream Will Do all the time when I was a kid. So I always wanted to be in like a professional production. And I sat there on that first night of Jason's show, thinking I would love to do this show one day, but never really believed I would. Then, a year later, another friend of mine, Philip Schofield, took over from Jason. So a year after I'd watched Jason, I was back in the audience at the London Palladium watching my friend Philip play Joseph. And again, I sat there and I thought, please let me one day play Joseph in this show. And 1 year after that, Lily, it was me. So 2 years after I'd watched Jason, and 1 year after I'd watched Philip, it was me at the London Palladium playing Joseph, which was my absolute dream job. And so when I put that coat on, it was so exciting. It was like a dream come true. But you know what? It was very heavy, which is sort of answering your second question, really, because your second question was the coat hot or cold? Well, when I did Joseph in the summer, it was a very heavy coat, and they cost £8,000 each, these coats, because they were handmade, very especially made for the show at the Palladium. They're very expensive. So when I did the show in the summer, it was very hot. But then when I used to do the show in the winter months, it wasn't quite as hot, but it was still hot. It's a very heavy coat, but they were beautiful coats. And I was so excited to wear the coat. So it was kind of hot all the time, but obviously it was much hotter to wear it in the summer than when I did the show in the winter. And I did the show a lot of times. I did the show in 1993, long before you were born. And I did that at the Palladium, and then the following year I went on tour of the UK, so I did some of the theatres around our country. Then I went back into the West End to do it, and then I went on the world tour and I played Joseph in Singapore, in Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand. So I did it many times. I did it from 1993 until 2005. So it's like 12 years, isn't it? It was a long time. Not all the time, but I kept going back to it in between doing other shows. And it's still my favourite show to do.
Question 3. What was your favourite song to sing? My favourite was Jacob and his sons.
What was my favourite song to sing? Now, I know your favourite song is Jacob and Sons, and that's a brilliant song, isn't it? But for me, I used to love singing Any Dream Will Do, of course, because that's probably the best known song in the show, isn't it? But I used to really love singing Close Every Door, Lily. And it was very exciting because it was very clever how they did it, because you know that Joseph gets thrown into prison. And what used to happen was Jacob, it wasn't Jacob, it was Potiphar. But the reason I say that is because the same man played Potiphar, who played Jacob as well at the Palladium. He used to get into different costumes. So when Potiphar throwed me into prison, as the song started of Close Every Door, these big bars, like prison bars, used to come from the sky and all the way down. So it would be like you were in prison. And I used to really love singing Close Every Door. But Jacob and Sons, that's a really good choice.
Question 4. Were you nervous playing the main part?
Was I nervous playing the main part? Yes. Because I'd wanted to do this for so long, and because I knew that... I'm just having a little bit of tea. Hold on. Thank you. Because I'd wanted to play it for so long, and I knew that in the audience there were some very important people, and one of the very important people that was in the audience for my first night was Simon Cowell, who I'm sure you probably know from X Factor and Britain's Got Talent. Now, Simon became my record manager, but that first night I'd never met Simon before, and I knew he was in the audience, you know. And of course Andrew LLoyd Webber was in the audience, and there were lots and lots of celebrities in the audience that night. So I was nervous because I knew these people were going to be watching me, and there were 2,500 people in that audience. And after the show, Simon Cowell came back to my dressing room and he offered me a record deal. And so he was my record manager for the next 3 years, and I released songs that went into the charts. And to try and explain to you how nervous I was that first night, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but sometimes when you get nervous, your mouth gets very dry, like mine did just then when I needed a bit of a cup of tea. And sometimes your lips can stick to your teeth when you're very dry. So as I was coming down to do the first song of Any Dream Will Do, my lip stuck like that to my teeth. So I had to do that a little bit before I sang. But I was probably only nervous for the first song. Joseph's first song is Any Dream Will Do. And I think once I'd got that song out of the way and I heard people applause, you know, people clapping me, then I relaxed a little bit and then I enjoyed it. But there's always a little bit of nerves whenever we go on stage, you know, and having a few nerves is quite a good thing, because sometimes it means that you perform better, you know.
Question 5. We can't forget 5. Were your brothers nice to you in real life? I think they might have been.
Was question 5, which I know you said you couldn't forget because you're 5 years old. Now, if I was to do that to you, if I was asking you questions, the question that I couldn't forget is 52, because that's how old I am. Don't tell anyone that. Don't tell your mum and dad. And you know what? I've worked with both your mum and dad. I know your mum and dad, and I've worked with both of them, and they're absolutely lovely. They're absolutely lovely people. And I'm so happy to be able to do this video for you. But the question that you couldn't not remember, because you're 5, was, were the brothers nice to me in real life? And you thought that they probably were. Well, yes, they were. Obviously, when we act, you know, sometimes we have to be horrible to people that we really like, just to play a part. And of course, when Joseph gets given that coat by his dad, the 11 brothers are not happy with him, are they? And they're really nasty to him, you know. But they were very lovely to me in real life. And I worked with a lot of brothers. There are 11 brothers, as I said, and you know that Joseph is the 12th brother. But because I did the show so many times, I did the West End 3 or 4 times. I did the UK tour of our country 2 times. Then I did the world tour. So I sort of worked with lots and lots of different casts. And pretty much all of the brothers I'm still in touch with, and we still speak to each other. In fact, I spoke to one of them the other day, and I also spoke to the guy that played my Pharaoh. Now, here's a funny thing. I don't know if you remember, you're not old enough to remember, but there was a show on television called Any Dream Will Do, I think it was called, and they were trying to find the new Joseph. And a guy called Lee Mead won that, and he became the new Joseph. But the year before he won that, he played the Pharaoh when I was doing a tour of the country. So I spoke to Lee just the other day. So I speak to quite a lot of them. I speak to a couple of the narrators as well, and I know you'll know who the narrator is in the show. So I've kind of stayed in touch with many, many people who I've done the show with over the years. I hope that answers all your questions and that you're happy with my answers.
Thank you so much for answering my questions. I'm really grateful.
If you ever have any more questions that you want to ask me, then please get Mum and Daddy, to just message me or phone me, and I'll answer them for you. Absolutely no problem. Much love, and hope to meet you someday.
And I can't believe that you were Joseph.